There's something kind of strange about money. You can be making more than before, more stable than before. But deep down there's still this feeling you can quite name. It's not like you broke, but it doesn't feel okay either. It's like everything is fine for now, but even a small change, and you start to feel uneasy. I've realized something. A lot of people don't actually have a problem with how much money they make. They have a problem with how it feels to live with that money. And what's interesting is, that feeling doesn't come from your financial reality. It comes from the way you see money every day. Most people don't notice this. There's a very common state. You're not overspending. You're not drowning in debt. You're not being reckless, but every time you're about to spend money, you hesitate for a second, not because it's too expensive, but because you're not sure if you should. A simple example, you're about to sign up for a course. It's not that expensive, you even know it's useful, but you keep opening the checkout page, thinking, closing it, then opening it again. Not because you don't have the money, but because you're not sure how you'll feel after spending it. Relieved or slightly anxious, I've realized a lot of financial decisions aren't blocked by money itself. They're blocked by something else, a lack of clarity inside. Main idea 1, you're not lacking money, you're lacking internal certainty. I've realized something that not many people say out loud. That uneasy feeling about money doesn't always come from having too little. It comes from not knowing where you stand. It sounds abstract, but you can see it clearly in everyday behavior. For example, you have some money in your account, not too little, not too much, but you don't know. What is this money actually for? Is it for spending, for emergencies, for investing, or just sitting there so you feel safe? And when money doesn't have a clear role, every time you use it, your brain feels like you might be taking from the wrong place. Even though you technically have every right to use it, what's interesting is, the anxiety doesn't come from spending wrong. It comes from not being sure. If you're spending in the right place, most people think, if I just make more money, this feeling will go away. But in reality, it's the opposite. When your money grows, but your clarity doesn't, the confusion grows too. And the result is, you have more money, but you feel like you need to control it more. You start overthinking before spending. Not because you're bad with money, but because you haven't built an internal map for it. A simple map that answers. What role does this money play in your life? When that question isn't clear, every decision feels heavier than it should. And that's why some people don't earn that much, but they spend very comfortably, while others earn quite well, but still hesitate every time they spend. It's not about income, it's about how clear things are inside. And the takeaway is, you're not really worried about money. You're worried because you're not sure if you're moving in the right direction with it. Main idea 2, you're not spending more, your money is carrying more roles. I've realized something subtle. It's not that you're spending more than before. It's that the same amount of money is now carrying more weight. Back then, money was simple. You earned it, you spent it, if there was anything left, great. But at some point, things started to change. Money is no longer just for spending. Now it has multiple roles. Part of it is for living now. Part of it is for emergencies. Part of it is for the future, and sometimes it's just there to help you feel safe. What's interesting is, these roles are rarely clearly defined. But you still feel them, and every time you spend, you're not just spending, you're subconsciously taking from one of those roles. For example, you're about to buy something you like. Before, the only question was, do I have enough money? But now the internal questions sound like, if I buy this, how much does my safety buffer drop? Will this affect my future plans? What if something happens? You see, you're not spending more, you're just thinking more. And it's not because you're overthinking. It's because your money now represents multiple things at once. Most people don't realize, when money carries more roles, it also carries more emotional responsibility. And every time you use it, You ray touching different parts of your life. That's why some expenses make perfect sense, but still feel a little uncomfortable. Not because they ray wrong, but because they carry more meaning than you think. And if you don't see this clearly, you might think, I am becoming too cautious, or I am losing my comfort with money. But in reality, you ray just entering a stage where money is no longer simple, and the takeaway is, you ray not making spending harder. You ray living in a system where every dollar carries more meaning than before. Main idea 3. You ray not controlling money, you ray trying to control the feeling of losing control. IV realized something paradoxical. A lot of money management behavior isn't really about money at all, it's about something else. The fear of losing control. It sounds strange, but once you notice it, you'll see it everywhere. For example, there are moments when you open your banking app. Not because you need to pay anything, you just want to check your balance. Everything is fine, nothing has really changed. But you still feel the need to confirm it. Why? Not because your money changed, but because something inside you feels slightly unstable. What's interesting is, when life feels unpredictable, work, health, relationships, you naturally look for something you can control. And money often becomes that place. You track more, check more often, think more before every decision. On the surface, it looks like you ray managing your finances better, but underneath, it's a way of telling yourself everything is still under control. Most people don't realize, the more you try to control money this way, the more drained you feel, because you ray using money to compensate for a feeling that doesn't come from money. And if that feeling isn't resolved, you keep repeating the loop. Uneasy, check temporary relief, uneasy again. That's why some people have stable finances but still feel constantly uneasy. Not because they ray doing something wrong, but because they ray using money as a tool to manage emotions, and that will never be enough. A clear sign is this. You don't just want enough money, you want to feel certain, but that certainty doesn't come from numbers. It comes from accepting that not everything in life can be controlled. If you don't see this, you'll keep tightening your grip on money, hoping to feel safer. But the paradox is, the tighter you hold, the less safe you feel, and the takeaway is, you ray not really managing money, you ray trying to use money to control a feeling it was never meant to fix. Main idea 4. You don't lack discipline, you ray making decisions while mentally drained. IV realized something many people misunderstand about themselves. They think they lack discipline with money. But if you look closer, it's not about discipline, it's about when you ray making decisions, most financial decisions. Don't happen when you ray clear and focused. They happen at the end of the day, when you ray tired, when you've handled too much. When you've made decision after decision all day, and at that point, your brain doesn't want to optimize anymore. It just wants one thing, relief. For example, after a long day you open your phone, not for anything important, just to unwind a bit. Then you see something not necessary but just reasonable enough. You tell yourself, it's not that expensive, once in a while is fine, and you buy it, not because you lack discipline, but because at that moment, you don't have the energy to resist it. What's interesting is, these decisions rarely hurt you immediately. Each one is small, insignificant, but repeated over time, they create a flow of spending that you didn't consciously choose. And then you start wondering, why am I spending like this? IV realized, the problem isn't that you don't know what to do. You do, but you ray trying to make the right decisions, in moments when you don't have the energy to do so. And over time, you start losing trust in yourself. You think, I can control my money, I always break my plans. But in reality, you never built a system that supports you when you ray at your best. Instead, you ray letting important decisions happen at your weakest moments, and that's a system designed to fail. And the takeaway is, you don't lack discipline. You ray just trying to make the right decisions at the worst possible time. Main idea 5. You ray not spending because you want to, you ray spending to end a feeling. IV noticed something pretty subtle. A lot of spending. Doesn't start with wanting something. It starts with a feeling of discomfort, not very clear. Not very intense, but just enough to make you want out. What's interesting is, you rarely notice this. Because on the outside, it looks like a normal decision. You buy something, you sign up for a service. You upgrade an experience, but the real reason underneath is completely different. A simple example. You're in a slightly inconvenient situation. Nothing serious, just a bit annoying, a bit time-consuming. A bit uncomfortable, and you realize if you just spend a little money, everything becomes smooth instantly. No thinking, no waiting, no dealing with the hassle, so you pay, not because you truly need it, but because you want to end that uncomfortable feeling as quickly as possible. Most people don't realize. Money has a very special ability. It can buy immediate relief, and once you get used to that, your brain starts learning a simple rule. Feel uncomfortable, spend money to fix it. At first it feels reasonable, even effective, but here's the problem. Discomfort in life never really goes away. It just changes form, and if every time it shows up, you use money to deal with it. You build a habit without realizing it. Spending stops being a choice. It becomes a reflex, a fast one. A natural one and a hard one to notice. That's why there are months you look back and don't understand where your money went. No big purchases, no obvious mistakes, just a lot of times you paid to escape a feeling. I've realized. The danger isn't the amount of money, it's this. You start losing the ability to tell the difference between I want this and I want this feeling to go away, and when those two get mixed up, every financial decision becomes blurry. And the takeaway is, you're not spending to gain something, you're spending so you don't have to feel something. Main idea 6. You're not really losing money, you're tied down by forgotten commitments. I've realized something many people only understand too late. Financial pressure rarely comes from one big decision. It comes from a lot of small commitments you once said yes to and then forgot. What's interesting is, these commitments don't feel heavy when you make them. A subscription, a service plan, a small nice to have. A minor upgrade to make life easier. All of it feels reasonable at the time, nothing wrong with it. But the problem is, every time you say yes, you're not just spending money now. You're creating a repeating obligation in the future. And those obligations don't go away, they just quietly stay there. A familiar example, you open your bank account and see multiple recurring charges. None of them are big, but when you add them up, you start to feel like I am being pulled down a little every month, not because of one big expense, but because you said yes too many times in the past. Most people don't realize, money isn't just spent through big decisions, it gets locked up in small decisions. Repeated over time, and what makes it dangerous is, you stop feeling like you're choosing, you're just continuing. No thinking, no reevaluating, no asking, do I still need this? I've realized, when too much of your money is tied to commitments, you lose something very important. Flexibility. You don't have much room to move anymore, not because you earn too little, but because most of your money is already spoken for, and when something unexpected happens, you don't react slowly because you lack money. You react slowly because your money isn't free anymore. That's why some people have stable income, but still feel constant pressure, not because they're doing something wrong, but because they've unknowingly created a financial system they can no longer adjust easily, and the takeaway is, you're not losing money. You're being constrained by decisions that once felt very small. Main idea 7. You're not slowing down, you're being pulled in too many financial directions. I've realized something people rarely say out loud. A lot of people feel like they're not making progress with money, not because they're doing things wrong, but because they're going in too many directions at once. It sounds contradictory, but if you look closely, it's very familiar. You start saving, then you think about investing, then you hear about side income, then you want to optimize spending. Then another idea shows up, Every direction makes sense. Nothing is wrong, but here's the issue. Every time you switch direction, you take your energy with you, and the result is, no direction lasts long enough to create real change. Most people don't realize, money doesn't respond strongly to short bursts of effort, it responds to consistent repetition over time, but when you keep changing approaches, you're always in starting mode. You always feel like, I am doing a lot but not seeing results. A simple example, you tried tracking expenses. Then stopped, you tried investing a small amount, then didn't follow through, you set a saving goal. Then changed your approach, not because you're not serious, but because you keep feeling like there's a better way out there. And what's interesting is, the constant search for something better is exactly what prevents you from sticking with anything long enough. I've realized, the feeling of I am not doing enough doesn't come from doing too little. It comes from not seeing a clear path forming, and when you don't feel progress, you look for a new direction. Something that seems more effective, but that loop is exactly what keeps you stuck, and the takeaway is, you're not slow with money, you just haven't stayed on one path long enough to see it start working. Main idea 8. You're not enough, you're comparing yourself to incomplete stories. I've realized something easy to overlook. The feeling that I am not doing well financially often doesn't come from your life. It comes from what you see from others. You open your phone, you see people talking about income, investments, assets, fast progress, everything is presented clean, clear, structured, like there's a roadmap. And then you look at yourself, you're trying, you're doing a lot of things right. But inside it feels like, I am still not there. What's interesting is, what you're comparing yourself to is not reality, it's a curated version. Most people don't realize the financial stories you see every day are missing a lot, the failed attempts, the stagnant periods, the bad decisions, and more importantly, they're missing context. You don't know where they started, what advantages they had, what they had to sacrifice. But your brain fills in the gaps. It assumes, we started at the same place, but they're moving faster. And from there, a familiar feeling appears. I am falling behind. I've realized, when you constantly consume incomplete stories, you start misjudging yourself. You stop looking at your own progress. You start looking at other people's speed. And that creates a quiet pressure. You want to speed everything up, earn faster, grow faster, change faster. But the paradox is, that pressure leads to unstable decisions. You skip necessary steps. You doubt your current path. You switch directions too early, and then, that feeling of not enough gets even stronger, not because you're worse, but because you're measuring yourself with incomplete standards, and the takeaway is, you're not lacking progress. You're just looking at stories where you don't see the full picture behind them. I've realized something after observing a lot of people. The problem with money is rarely about the numbers. It's about how you experience those numbers every day. You can have enough money and still feel uneasy. You can be doing many things right and still feel like you're off track. And what's interesting is, when you reflect on everything we just talked about, you'll see a pattern. None of these problems actually come from money. They come from lack of clarity, overlapping roles, the need for control, mental fatigue, emotional reflexes, forgotten commitments, scattered focus, and incomplete comparisons. Money is just where all of that shows up, and when you don't see it clearly, you think you need to earn more, optimize more, push harder, but in reality, what you need is to understand more, understand how you feel when you spend, why you hesitate, what you're trying to control, and when that clarity appears, something interesting happens. You don't have to force things anymore. Decisions feel lighter, less stressful, more consistent, not because your life changed, but because you understand how you're living with money, and maybe that's the real starting point. If any part of this felt a little too familiar, you might want to take a moment to observe how you're making decisions with money. You don't need to change everything. Just noticing one thing is already a big step, And if you want to keep going deeper into how money really shapes our behavior, you can subscribe. Keep sharing the things most people are going through, but rarely see clearly.